Hey, welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. We're going to talk about some Reddit liveaboard questions. One of the questions, of course, is always one of the predominant questions that comes up is, where do I get a slip? And the answer to that is that you don't do it that way. You don't do it that way. You decide that you love the idea of living on a boat. You figure out that you're going to live on a boat, and you do that mostly by getting on the water and floating. Okay, over on Substack, I have a series called Floating Fridays, because that's like kind of the whole point here, is to be in your cockpit, on the back deck, on the foredeck, up the mast, with a beverage of your choice, watching the sunset or the sunrise, and just chilling out and being on the water, floating. Okay, just you want to be floating, and that's actually a really that's a really important thing to get out of this, is that yes, you're probably going to have a marina until you go full time and you're cruising and you're anchoring, and your marina might be some neighbor's dock, some family friend's private dock. It could be a mooring ball in a mooring field. It could be a lot of things, but the point is to get on the water. Okay, if you're one of the people who's just going to put $2,000 down on the counter and buy a $2,000 sailboat and just leave that day, that's fine. That's the person you are. More than happy to be with you on that journey, because that's kind of how I work. I'm totally fine with that. But if you're one of the people who's doing permission seeking, you're going on the internet and asking people permission for how to make changes to your life, you might want to consider stepwise. Do this in a gradient that works for you. Do this in a way that actually fits how you're gonna work, how you're gonna be, the stuff that you need to have. Okay, the stuff that you feel you need to do, who you want to be. Get a boat. Any boat, any kind of boat, don't care. You want something that's in the water. If you want to do a slip and you want to be able to just hang out, you want to be able to go down there any moment and open up the cockpit, open up your hatches and hang out and do some boat work or have a beer or whatever. You want a boat that's in the water, not a boat that's on a trailer. Okay? So we're there to start, because that's your 2-hour process of getting the boat in the water. If you're doing a trailer, if you want to be a trailer sailor and dream about cruising and do week-long trailer sail adventures and everything, that's cool too. Totally fine. Everything is okay. We're talking about a certain particular path. You want a boat that's in the water. You want it at a marina that has at least the minimal safety and security, like your boat's going to be there next week, right? Because there's some pretty dodgy marinas out there, and you gotta kind of vibe yourself on that. You gotta get a feel. The boat does not have to be big. It does not have to be small. It does not have to be running. But I'm going to say that you need something that you can move if you need to. Which means you want something small enough that if you need to do it, you can bolt an outboard on the back and motor out to another marina, or motor out of the marina and get your towboat US membership and tow to another marina if you're moving. Because that's one of the things that you just need to be able to do. And you can do that with a 34-foot Catalina tartan. You can do that with realistically, a 36-foot boat is pushing what you're going to be able to do. 34 is like really, really up there on the limit. And many 34s it won't work. Many 36s it won't work. Many 30s it won't work. But a lot of 30-foot boats, 32-foot boats, you're going to, if you need to, you could strap a 10 horsepower outboard on the back and go. You want your engine to run. Same thing goes for power boats, believe it or not. I'm going to look out that hatch right there. There's a 32-foot Carver, and it's got all the windage and all the huge tall stuff because it's got a flying bridge and everything. And you can, it's made for motors and stuff, but it has a square transom, and it's a nice transom. And if I really need to, I can rig a bracket there, and I can throw a 20 horsepower or 30 horsepower outboard on there, and I can motor that thing out if I need to. Not a plan I want to do, but if I need to. What you really want is an engine that works. Even if it's a sailboat, you want an engine that works. You want to be able to do this, and that's fine. But whatever. Get a 26-foot Columbia. You can row the thing out of the slip, okay? You can put oar locks on your winches in the cockpit, and you can make some really long oar sweeps, and you can row the thing around. That's fine. I have backup oars for this. This is a 27-foot Catalina. It's really wide and fat. That's why I said the Columbia. The Columbia is a narrower boat, but I have big pieces of pipe and oars, and I can put it all together, and I can row if I really need to. It's a backup because I've been stranded in this. I had to scull with the rudder once, and that's just not something that's not terribly fun. Having an oar as a set of oars is just a better way to do it, right? So that's the thing. That's it. You want a boat that you're going to be able to make move, and you really want to focus on that. Okay, if the engine doesn't run, but you've got it because it's $1,500. I mean, they're speaking of a Columbia 26. I know where one is, about 30 miles north of here, that you could have in the water, floating with new bottom paint, all up for about $900. That includes taking it from the storage and putting it into the water and then putting it in a slip. But the engine doesn't run. It's got a diesel and it just doesn't run. That's all the listing says, doesn't run. So you buy the boat for $600, you spend a couple $100 getting it in the water. That's fine. You're there. It's in a slip. You can start messing with it. You just get a mechanic in there and you just fix it. Okay? You fix it. It's going to take a couple $1,000. That's fine. Then you have a boat and everything's happy and you're go. The way you turn that into a live-aboard situation is that you figure out how you can spend time on the boat. You have a marina. Marinas almost never tell you can't spend a night on your boat. Like, spending a night on your boat is just part of the thing. Okay, it's part of boat ownership. It's so expected that you will spend the weekends on your boats. From an owner's perspective, it's so expected that you will spend a night on the boat occasionally that it's really, really pretty rare for marinas to be absolutely locked down with the no one's allowed to be here after 10 p.m. You can't even tell people that if they are going out day sailing, because stuff happens and you may not be able to get back until 2 a.m. Just shit happens, okay? That's life on a boat. Or life racing a boat, or life sailing a boat, or whatever. So don't worry about that, all right? Go ahead, make sure that your marina is cool with, like, hey, if I come down for the weekend and I spend the night on my boat so I can get an early start, if you're really scared about that, go ahead and check, but it's an expected thing, right? How that transitions into live aboard is basically move the boat. Move it around. Take it out sailing. Do stuff with it. And spend more time on it. And at some point you're going to run into a situation where you're either just there. You're just like, hey, you run up to the dockmaster and you're like, hey, it's vacation time. I'm going to spend a couple months on the boat here. I've got everything ready. We're cool. I'm going to go out and, gunk hole a little bit or something. And you just say it, right? A lot of places will have a live aboard fee. They'll charge you an extra $100 a month for whatever during that phase, and then you go. But you have to be there. You don't know the questions to ask. You don't know the problems. You don't know what the bar is. You don't know what you have to do to have a live aboard lifestyle until you have a boat, until you start the process, until you start doing stuff, until you are floating on the docks. And that's the whole point. Floating. You want to be floating. Once you're floating, figure it out. The first step, get a boat. Doesn't have to be your forever boat. Doesn't have to be an expensive boat. Get a boat at a marina or a dock and run with it. Everything else falls off of that. don't worry. Like, if you want to have all your dreams and your drama and your plans, and you want to make your head all full of stuff, dream and plan about the upgrades to a boat. But just the thing you need to do, the only thing that matters, is to just get a boat at a dock and then figure it out. Okay? That's how this works. Stay sideways.